Hello! The year was 1990, and down from the heavens descended the Sega Mega Drive for us here in the UK. Known as the Sega Genesis in North America for different name reasons. I don't know. But I tell you what I do know, I bloody love the Mega Drive. One of my favourite consoles, and you know, didn't even have one back in the day. I bought one years later when they were super cheap second hand. But back in the day, every Thursday, I think it was, I would go around my friend's house and we would play on his Mega Drive all bloody evening, and it was the best. Well, it wasn't always the best. Sometimes we'd play Altered Beast because he'd got that free, and Altered Beast isn't really that good. But it's a bit of a laugh in two-player, innit? Also, we never completed King's Bounty. It's just occurred to me. But anyway, that's not relevant. What is relevant is how much the Mega Drive meant to an awful lot of us growing up over here. And it's huge, huge in the UK, huge in Europe, I believe, huge in the USA. I don't think it ever was that big in Japan, interestingly, for a Japanese console. But hey, it doesn't matter. The most important thing is the Sega Mega Drive has what is the greatest video game ever made. Look. You literally open up any book of science, like Pennell's Concise Encyclopedia of Science here, and what's it got inside? Streets of Rage 2. By science, proven to be the greatest game ever made. You can't argue with facts like that. You can argue with how Max's face is drawn on the cover. I've never understood that, but that's not relevant. Now, before we continue, I'm going to tell you that this video is sponsored by Sex. Not like the methodology of human reproduction, but CEX, the chain of retail shops where you can go and buy second-hand gubbins of entertainment purposes, like, you know, old video game consoles, for instance. And also various other bits and bobs. And of course, they will also accept your items for cash or trade-in. And they've got retail shops bloody everywhere. All over the UK, there's loads in Europe. I went to one in Barcelona once. I'd forgotten that. Don't know why that suddenly sprang to mind. They're in Australia and various other places. Big thanks to them for sponsoring the video and for lending me loads of the stuff which I'm going to be showing you today. But not this particular Mega Drive. This one's mine. I'm going to hug it now. It's not weird. Anyway, the Sega Mega Drive, Sega's follow-up to the Master System, and what a beastie it was. Some absolutely classic games for this system, to say the bloody least. But first, let's have a look at the device itself. I always love the design of the Mega Drive, with its off-centre cartridge port in this pretty circle, telling you it's 16-bit and whether the power's on or off, and the grill at the side, which is there purely for cosmetic purposes. The best purposes for any grill. What else have we got on the front then? Tells you what it is, always good. There's a reset button, you can turn it on and off, all important. There's also, interestingly, a physical volume controller, a real rarity on the front of the console. But as that little symbol there suggests, it only controls volume for the headphone socket here, the old 3.5mm jack, which I believe is the only way to get stereo sound out of the original model of the Mega Drive. The back of it will only kick out mono. So, yeah, we'll get on to how you connect this up to other things later. It's a bit fiddly, but in the early days, you could plug a set of speakers into it. In fact, I believe there was a branded set of speakers for the Mega Drive, or at the very least there was in America, so they'd be Genesis branded. And, of course, on the front, where you stick your controllers in. Only the 2 slots for a classic 9-pin design, so there's some cross-compatibility with your Amiga and your Atari ST and your Spectrum and your Commodore 64 and all that kind of stuff. There was a multi-tap available, but weirdly, I've never seen one. I mean, I know they come up for sale and they're quite expensive, but I've never got hold of one myself. And I'll tell you what, not always necessary to have a multi-tap to play more than 2 players on a Mega Drive. Oh, but again, we'll get onto that later. Nothing around this side particularly. On the back, you've got a red sticker for no reason whatsoever. RF out to connect it to your old television. Your proper output, that's what you want these days for your RGB SCART. That's what we like, nice and crisp. And of course, power in. This side, there should be a covering here, but mine is missing. I don't think I ever had it for this one. But it spends all its time plugged into a Mega CD anyway. Something else we'll get onto in a minute. But yeah, basically a nice connector at the side for add-ons. And on the bottom, a big metal plate that I've screwed onto it. Also, so it sticks onto an add-on correctly. There's an awful lot of add-ons for the Mega Drive, yeah. This is going to be quite a long little bit, just going through the hardware, I think. But there you go. You could play Streets of Rage 2 on this. So what more do you want out of life? Absolutely nothing is the answer to that. But this wasn't the only design of the Mega Drive, for in 1993, over here at least, the Mega Drive 2 appeared, which is far more central and flat. As a design, you've just got your two outputs on the front, you've got your power and you've got your reset on the back, you've got AC adapter and AV out, and on the side, hang on, there we are, you do have an extension connector thingamajig there. Yeah, basically, it's hard to say which is better. It's probably going to be the one. It's really bloody hard to say, basically. So you've got no headphone jack on here, you'll notice, but you can output stereo from the back, so swings and roundabouts there. The real problem is crappy audio on early versions of the Mega Drive 2, like with a loud hissing in the background and stuff like that. Really not very good at all, whereas all the original Mega Drives, pretty good, unless you got a very late in the day made one. Really, this was, as with so many console redesigns, technology's moved on a bit, they can produce it cheaper, here you go. I also really don't like the look of this anywhere near as much as this one. Beautiful. A bit meh. Although, well, there is a little positive thing about that, but we'll get on to that in a minute. My God, there are so many add-ons for this thing. Let us begin with the absolute classic, the Mega CD. Oh, yes. Oh, God. That's all been scraped over the years by the metal. Don't usually see that bit, strangely enough. So, it's basically a CD player that you plug your Mega Drive into. This came out in 1993 over here. And really, it's massive extra storage. Simple as that. I mean, the cartridges for the Mega Drive, they were like 1 megabyte or 2 megabyte, or as they would call it, 8 megabit or 16 megabit. And this kind of goes from your 2 megabytes to 640 megabytes, which is mad. Incidentally, you connect it via popping it on top, and as you can probably guess, slamming it inside like that. Sorted. And there is the beginning of a tower of power, something else we'll get onto. It's so weird looking back at the Mega Drive and all the stuff you plug into it. Oh, God, I absolutely love it. Right, anyway, also in the Mega CD, you've got another CPU, which is clocked considerably higher, actually, than the one in the original Mega Drive, but that's mostly used for controlling the CD gubbins. And you do have, there's some new custom graphics chips. You've got, like, something that can scale bitmaps in and out, a bit like the Mode 7 stuff on the Super Nintendo. And obviously, it plays CD audio, because, you know, it's got CD drive, so you've got your Red Book audio going on, as we used to say back in the day. Yeah, it's kind of a little bit of a disappointment, the Mega CD, really. Generally, it was just used as a big storage device with CD audio. A lot of the games were quite literally just, we've stuck a cartridge on a CD and you've got some CD audio, which often isn't that good anyway. Enjoy. That's a pity, because this was really bloody expensive when it came out. Anyway, at the front, you've got, of course, the tray to put your discs in and out of. Various interesting lights to tell you what's going on. You've got your lock here. Hang on. There we are. Now the Mega Drive won't fly off into space. And on the back, stereo output. Yep, actual phono jacks for it. And that is input. And basically, you plug the headphone socket from the Mega Drive into this, and then you can sort of mix the audio between the two so you can hear the Mega Drive game over your CD audio. It's a really weird way of doing it. It's all a little bit fiddly, plugging things into the Mega Drive, all these sort of metal plates at the bottom and stuff, but hey, you generally only have to do it the once. And of course, power, because why wouldn't there be? And here's your big old connect socket thingy on the side, holding it all together, and very little on the bottom, as you would probably imagine. So that is your Mega CD, or the Sega CD, as it was called in North America. If you're an American watching this and going, why has that got a weird name? Because it's called something different. Not very exciting, but that is the truth. Yeah, so this was about £270 when it came out. £270! That's the equivalent of about £540 in today's money. Very bloody expensive add-on, at first at least, and it wasn't massively popular. I believe in the UK, Mega CD games were outsold by Amiga CD32 games, so that, yeah, probably tells you all you need to know, really. They're not like unheard of or anything by any stretch of the imagination, and the games do turn up quite a lot, but yeah, didn't quite have the popularity of the Mega Drive on its own in any territory, and especially not here. Also, Mega CD1, a lot of bits go wrong in it. A lot of technical faults can potentially come up on that one, which is a bit of a sod. Anyway, Also in 1993, yeah, this absolutely drives me mad, right? So this was released in the UK in 1993. So was the Mega CD 2. So, like, this was out early in the year, and then later in the year, you got the one to slot the new Mega Drive 2 into, which interestingly is mostly tray, which is a very odd design, really, just like you're going to put your supper on it or something. You got an access light, completely different method of putting your CDs in and out now with a top loader. And there's not really a whole lot else on it, just the same connectors at the back, and that's your lot. And as you can imagine, this fits in very nicely, although that's not correctly attached. You should be bloody bolting metal bits onto the bottom like the other one. Blah, blah, blah. It's all a bit of a fiddle. But how you get there in the end. And I gotta say, not a fan of the Mega Drive 2 design on its own. Not a fan of the Mega CD design on its own, really, of Mega CD 2. But when you put them both together, it looks pretty good, doesn't it? I think they look much better together than apart, those two things. And whilst I personally prefer the interesting tower design of the first one, has to be said, these go wrong a lot less than the original Mega CDs, apparently. So there we are. They are more reliable, is the word we're looking for there. And we're not at the end yet, folks. We're just going to mention in passing a lot of various interesting bits, some of which were released in the UK, some of which weren't. There was something called a Wonder Mega, which was a combined Mega Drive and Mega CD. That was Japan only, I believe. There was a Multi-Mega, which was, again, a combined pair, but like only about the size of a slightly chunky, like portable CD player. Very small thing there. Oh, lots of this stuff around. But things got really interesting in 1994 when Sega released the 32X. Boom! Which kind of did a lot of what they kind of implied the Mega CD would do at the time and make the Mega Drive substantially more powerful. Hang on, I'm going to grab the Mega Drive from down here. There we are. And basically you plug a big mushroom into it. Although you shouldn't be plugging it directly in. You see there's these big metal plates on it. Well, you've also got these metal clips that you're supposed to put into the... I told you all this was fiddly, didn't I? It's a right fiddle getting them in and out as well. But anyway, for purposes of aesthetics at the moment, we'll just pop it straight in. And again, it's just a new cartridge port, really. It takes 32X cartridges, which are a different size to the Mega Drive, for various obvious reasons. You don't need people plugging them into the Mega Drive and blowing it up or something. But also, it will accept Mega Drive cartridges, so you don't have to, like, pull this off if you're playing old Mega Drive games. On the back... Oh, God. It's got its own power. Right, it's a bit of a fiddle already, but also you have to plug from the back of your Mega Drive into this and then take the output from that and run it through your television. Not something you want to set up too often. Also, there's various adapters involved because the Mega Drive 2 has a smaller socket, one about that size, in fact. So there's all different... Oh, it's a bloody faff. It really is. But yeah, the 32X was an actual power upgrade because everybody was getting into the old 3D games. People were wanting their Virtua Fighter actually in 3D and wanting their Virtua Racing and things like that. So the 32X was unleashed. And it wasn't supported very well. I mean, people said the Mega CD wasn't supported, but my God, as compared to the 32X, yeah, it didn't do very well. It's a very polite way of saying there's not that many games for 32X. Most of them are massively disappointing. Also, it may just be me, but the cartridges seem to fail more often than the Mega Drive. That could be coincidental and just my experience of it, but I've got 2 dead 32X cartridges and no dead Mega Drive cartridges at all, so don't really know about that one. But the thing that really killed the 32X was, well, this came out in the UK in 1994, and the Sega Saturn, the completely massively upgraded next console along, came out 7 months later. So they kind of announced this, and then very shortly afterwards announced their new console to replace it. That's not a great way to get people on side with it. People are like, oh, okay, so for a bit of money I can plug that into my Mega Drive and then start playing the 3D games, or I could just save the money and wait a few months. Sega, what were you doing? So, before we move on, I'm going to quickly mention various other weird Mega Drive versions that were made. There was actually a third revision of the Mega Drive. Well, technically third revision of the Genesis, because it was only released in North America, and it was called the Genesis 3, released in 1998, and was basically a sort of cheapy bargain basement. We can now produce these for very low amounts of money. Here, have one for cheap. It was made under license by a company called Majesco, and basically it had the same guts as like the later Mega Drive 2s, but it's got no expansion support, the sound is mono only. Otherwise, though, it's pretty good as they went. There weren't sort of massive hissing problems. I think there were with some of the earlier ones. It's hard to say, but yeah, they weren't released over here anyway. Then there was the Nomad, which was a handheld Mega Drive, literally a big chunky slab of a thing. Looks a bit like a house brick with buttons on it and a screen in it to play Mega Drive games on. They're actually pretty cool. I had a good play with one once many years ago. There was the Mega Jet, which is basically a controller with the Mega Drive and the cartridge slot built in that you just plug straight into a television. There was the Terra Drive, which sounds like something Krang would be trying to kill the Ninja Turtles with, but was a combination Mega Drive and IBM PC, and it was a massive flop because it had a really outdated CPU in it. Then in the UK, we had the Amstrad Mega PC, which again was a combination Mega Drive and IBM PC, but done even more on the cheap, and even though it came out years later, still had an outdated CPU and flopped horribly, so that was bad. There was the Iowa Mega CD, which was a combination Mega Drive, Mega CD, and Boombox. I've got no answer to that. Anyway, let's jump cut to some accessories. Exciting fact, there's all the guts inside a Mega Drive to play Master System games. But of course, it won't fit in because the cartridge slot is different. And so, if you wanted to play your Master System games on your Mega Drive, you needed the Master System Converter, which is an intriguing bloody design. Look at that. It even screws onto the back. I don't think I've ever had the screw for it. And look, there's a cartridge slot for your old Master System stuff. Interestingly, with a little flap to keep the dust out. And of course, card input. Let's look at that in a second. Basically, you just shove it on like that. It's nice and easy, wasn't it? And then lift the top, and you can play Castle of Illusion starring Mickey Mouse to your heart's content. And it looks really cool as a thing, and gets a bonus point for that. The card input, incidentally, is as a sort of, I think it was sort of a holdover from their original SG-1000 console. Some Master System games came on cards. There we are. That's the future, by which I mean the now quite distant past. Now, you may notice a problem with this, and the problem is that is not going to fit on the top of your Mega CD2. Also, you can't appear to get it off from this angle. Nope, it's all good. Which is entirely true. So, they released a Master System Converter 2 for it. There we go. Works in the Mega Drive 1 as well, but is designed for the Mega Drive 2, because obviously the Master System Converter 1 is not going to work on it. There we are. Just the top goes off, and away you go. But, unfortunately, you are crap out of luck. If oh well. No cards for you, Mega Drive 2 owners. You'll just have to keep your old Master System if you want to play those. Interesting fact, the Master System Converter was called the Power Base Converter in the USA, which sounds like some sort of super weapon from an anime, but no, it was just the Master System Converter. While I'm thinking about this, I didn't actually mention you can actually use the Mega CD2 with the Mega Drive 1. That tray thing comes with an extension, so you get more length and can actually pop your Mega Drive onto the tray next to the Mega CD2. And vice versa, you can use a Mega Drive 2 with a Mega CD1. You just remove the little rubber feet from the bottom of the Mega Drive 2. Oh man, it's getting confusing, isn't it? Quickly, where's something simpler? Ah, Game Genie. There we are. The classic cheaty, naughty, put some codes in and then you've got infinite lives type thing. And it's a simple case of you put it in the machine and then you put the cartridge on the top of it. It's not complicated, folks. It's not complicated. Also, Game Adapter. Do you know what this is for? The answer is probably yes, but I'm going to have to tell you anyway, because that's how videos work. Basically, if you want to be using Japanese cartridges, like this version of, I think that's Street Smart, oh no, it won't go in because it's a different shape. But you can get around this region lockout by popping that in and then putting that on the top. And there you go. I will admit, I've never actually got that to work with mine, but to be fair, I haven't tried very hard because I've only got one Japanese game, which is that, and a couple of knockoff cartridges, so I've not really been too enthused to try over the years. Maybe it just needs the context cleaning. I don't know. But you know what just fell off the sofa and you heard go clunk? A very interesting thing indeed. Sonic and Knuckles. Yep, this was just a latter-day Sonic the Hedgehog game, because of course, Sonic the Hedgehog was born on the Sega Mega Drive. And it fits in there like that, and it's a game, isn't it? But wait, whoop, it also has a connector for other cartridges. I mean, this is quite a bad example because it's not a game, but you could put in earlier Sonic the Hedgehog games and then play as the extra character Knuckles in them, which is clever as hell. That still kind of impresses me to this day. That's a lot of bang for your buck back in the day from your Sonic and Knuckles cartridge there, isn't it? But the most important thing is, when you have all of these devices, you can fit your Mega CD down there, then you've got your Mega Drive, then you've got your 32X, and then you can keep building what we in the trade call a Tower of Power. I interrupt this cavalcade of Sega joy to remind you that many of the items shown in this video can be obtained for cash from Sex, as in CEX, the shop. You know how it goes. Sex sell many retro consoles and games and accessories and all sorts of other entertainment devices and media too, and here's the thing, they'll take items as trade-in towards their stock. So rather than letting your unused phones and tablets and guff just sit in a drawer losing value until they eventually end up in a landfill, you could take them to Sex and trade them towards something you might actually want. Now, I thought I was out of random old items to trade in, and I kind of was. But then I admitted to myself that it was time to get rid of my iPad. It's 2016 iPad Pro, 128GB capacity, and I haven't charged it or turned it on in at least 3 years. Yeah. But I've kept it because, I might need it soon. It's not going to happen. I have to accept it's not going to happen. And if I took it to Sex today, prices as of early June 2023, future watchers, I could swap it for a Mega Drive 1 and all the cables and bits and bobs. Oh, and a controller. And an extra pad, a 6-button pad, in fact. And Sonic the Hedgehog boxed and unboxed copies of Streets of Rage 2, Micro Machines 96, Road Rash 2, Eternal Champions, and Sonic the Hedgehog 2. All for something I literally haven't used in years. So if you've got some unloved electronic gubbins, you could take it to Sex and see what you can trade it for. And if they don't have what you want in your local branch, you could use your trade-in voucher on their website. Also, Sex offer a 24-month warranty on all purchases except for consumables like, batteries and bulbs and things like that. So why not check out the guarantee of Sex? Oh god, that sounded wrong. Quick, cut to the next bit. The old Mega Drive control pad. See, it's quite big and chunky. You got easily found buttons. Start button is easily found there. D-pad's pretty good. And it fits nicely in the hand. It's an old-fashioned controller, but my goodness, it does the stuff. Also, they seem to pretty much last forever without breaking, which I am massively appreciative of. But the Mega Drive control pad has no auto fire. But don't worry, you could always go off and buy a Sega Mega Fire, which is effectively the same thing. They've had to move the start button to incorporate auto, on or off. I can't remember the difference between auto and off. I think auto just does on fire all the time and auto only fires when you hold it down, or is it the other way around? I can't remember now. Oh, that's annoying. But if you're into your shoot-em-ups, this was quite a bloody useful thing. Because, of course, you didn't have to destroy your thumb, or indeed the buttons, by constantly tapping, tapping, tapping. And all the rest of it is still just one of the really good Mega Drive control pads, so that's nice. But if you preferred an arcade stick, you could have the Arcade Power Stick. Power! Yes, gigantic buttons. Look at the size of these things. Absolutely massive. And not just auto fire, but mega fire. Look, with a speed slider. That's the stuff, and the start. And then a really horrible stick without any sort of definite feel to it whatsoever. I mean, you need this micro switched or something. It's just got really nasty feel to it, which is such a shame, because if your hands aren't too great and you can't use, a control pad standard, these sticks are quite useful. And this one's just not very bloody good. Never liked it. I've also never used one which didn't feel kind of knackered. I mean, I've never used one from new, obviously, but I don't know, they don't seem to last particularly well. Well, I think it's one of those things. It will last forever as in the fact it works, but it doesn't work properly for very long. Do you know what I mean? It always feels a bit sort of crunchy and knacked, which is a shame. I've just remembered my friend's sister saying this looked like it was designed to play games with your feet because it's got like giant buttons. I'd forgotten about that. Yep, it is a big parasite. To be fair, she probably wasn't familiar with the concept of arcade sticks, but yeah, it's not really particularly good. Always a missed opportunity, I've thought, because it's a big, really heavy, well-made thing, metal plate on the bottom that works, you know. Anyway, after a while, people started playing Street Fighter 2 and they were like, these 3 buttons aren't enough. I have to press start to swap between punch and kick and it's mad. Give me 6 buttons, Sega. And Sega were like, never, we'll die for... Oh no, wait, here you go. It is, well, the 6-button arcade pad. Simple as that. Slightly smaller, still fits in the hands well, and you've got... yeah, 6 buttons in your D-pad. You'll notice a similarity to the Sega Saturn controller, which was based on this design, obviously. It's about all you can say about it, really. The only other thing of note is this mode button, because some games, for some reason, and I don't think there's very many of them, but wouldn't work with a 6-button pad. But if you turned the Mega Drive on while holding down the mode button, it acts exactly as a 3-button pad, and all is well. But in my experience, you just plug it in, you just use those 3 and don't worry about those if the game doesn't support them. Simple as that. But yeah, super good if you're into fighting games and stuff. But of course, not everyone can afford entirely first-party controllers, because they're bloody expensive, aren't they? So generally the second controller was going to end up some third-party thing, and oh look, here's a quick shot one. It's got turbo fire, it's got 6 buttons, it's got a little file clicky D-pad, and I'll tell you what, when I bought this cheap, I thought it was going to be crap, and it's actually pretty good. For professional players, yeah, I'm not entirely sure about that, having played a lot of quick shots controllers over the years, but yeah, this isn't bad at all, to be honest with you. The D-pad's pretty good. I wouldn't say it's quite as good as that, but it's not a bad controller. I was genuinely quite impressed, expecting that to be bloody awful. You know, like this. I know, it had to come out at some point. It's the Triax, whatever the hell, Turbo Touch 360. It's got auto fire, it's got 3 buttons. It's got very little physical feedback, yes. You know how it's really awful playing games on mobile phones because you have no, basically, physical feedback at all. You're just sort of sliding your thumb over a screen. Well, this kind of partially replicates that experience. It's not quite as bad because you do hit the edges here, so you can sort of feel around. It does have some lines and things on it. But yeah, you don't push down on this, you just slide your thumb. And it works. It does know which direction you're going in. It's just a sort of really unpleasant experience to use and just nowhere near as definite as a controller like this. However, having said that, some people got on with these really well, I've discovered in recent years, and it is like their go-to for playing games on the Mega Drive, which is quite impressive in an odd way, because I really thought, oh god, this is just dreadful, nobody's going to like it, but no, few people do. So if you are one of those people, well, the good news is you can still pick these up for almost nothing on eBay because nobody wants them. Jump cutting into this one because it's a doozy. And by doozy, I mean unnecessarily large. So, you remember light guns back in the day? All good fun, shooting at your television. Not literally, they were like toy things. You had your Zapper for the NES, and you had your light phaser, was it, for the Master System? Then later on, the Sega Saturn had the excellent Virtua guns. You had your G-Con stuff for the PlayStation. All lovely. Well, light guns did exist for the 16 bits, but I'll tell you what, didn't work quite as well. So Nintendo released their Super Scope thing, which was, I think it was supposed to look like a futuristic bazooka or something, but it was really just a bit kind of unwieldy and kind of looked like something a kid had made out of just a cardboard tube and maybe some grey duct tape. It wasn't a very impressive thing, but when Sega saw it coming out, they were like, we need to get in on this action. And so the Menacer was born. How menaced do you feel on a scale of 1 to menaced? Yeah, this is a thing then. So, what we'll do first is remove all the crap, because goodness knows there's some unnecessaries on this. I mean, really, do you need a shoulder stock for this. Let's get rid of that, shall we? And then you've got this ludicrous double eye. Well, I'll try and see if you can see through it. You probably can't very well. Oh, yeah, you can see a little bit there. This weird double sight thing, which is just an absolute pain in the bum. Might slide those off, actually. Yep, there we are. Marvellous. And now you actually hold it in your hand. Do you know what? This thing on the top, this doesn't really work as a sight. Let's get rid of that as well. And, there we are. The pure Menacer. That's more like it. I mean, it still looks like a vacuum cleaner attachment, but we won't worry about that because the fact remains, it's actually a pretty good light gun. It's fairly accurate. You've got your shooty button there, some extra buttons here, so you do have to sort of hold it in two hands, unless it's a game where you only need one button, I suppose. There's the bit which reads the old scan lines and tells it what's going on. You put batteries in the back here because it's entirely wireless. Well, this bit is entirely wireless. On the Mega Drive, you just plug in this little box and sit it on top of your television, and it plugs into... Oh, God, that's a lot longer than I thought it was. That plugs into the second controller port, if I remember correctly. And then you can zap away till your heart's content. Well, your heart probably won't be content before the batteries run out. But hey, that was batteries of the time. It's just how things were. So yeah, it's a big chunky thing. And if you've got small hands, I imagine this being a bit of a pisser, actually. But it's fine. You know, shoot things in telly. It's quite accurate. It's all good fun. Good. Now, do you remember when we said earlier that Sega weren't that great at supporting some of the stuff they released? Well, all that is as nothing compared to the lack of support for the Menacer. Allow me to demonstrate. There's this. This came free with it. It's 6 games. It's a bit crap, to be honest with you. The tomato one's quite good fun. The rest are all very simple and a bit naff. It is not particularly good. You're not going to get that much joy out of this. Little kids maybe a bit, but yeah, it's a bit of a disappointment. So, time to get on the old third-party games, because Sega released no more games that use the Menacer. You had to go third-party for it, and you could play Terminator 2, the arcade game. That's good fun. Shooting all the Terminator endoskeletons in a future war. And you could play Body Count. Body Count is pretty bloody good, actually. Very visually impressive game. Just a really good fun light gun shooter. Great stuff. That's it. That's your lot. That is it. You've got your pack-in game and 2 other games, and that is all you can use your Menacer for. And if you were in North America, it was even worse, because Body Count didn't even get a physical release over there. You had to download it or whatever through that weird Sega channel thing they had over there that not that many people seem to use. So, yeah, not great, really. Incredible lack of support. And really frustratingly, right? You've got more games where you can shoot at the screen. Lethal Enforcers, for instance. Snatcher. Won't work with this. You need Konami's own Justifier gun that they released. It will not work with the Menacer if you're trying to play Lethal Enforcers or Snatcher or anything else Konami, basically. Oh dear, it's all a bit naff, isn't it? The good news is, if you've got a Mega CD, there are more compatible games. And the bad news is, it's 5 more and they're all pretty crappy FMV shooters. And do you want to know the weirdest thing? Something that I've never quite worked out, right? There is a game quite similar in setup to Terminator 2 called Revolution X. And it's basically an Aerosmith-themed, yes, really, shooter. It's kind of a bit crap, to be honest with you. Not a game I've ever enjoyed. But it was released on the Mega Drive. Doesn't support any light guns. Doesn't support the Justifier. Doesn't support this. Brilliant. Well done, everyone. The Menacer here. Such a serious lack of games, it is incredible. Anyway, let's go from lack of games to actually looking at games. That was a segue. So, games then. Boom. And just looking at this again, I'd forgot. It all comes back to Max from Streets of Rage 2, right? Look. So, he's a wrestler type, but he's got his red boots and his blue wrestling trousers with the yellow lightning flash on, you see, down here. But, of course, at first glance, it looks more like these are his legs from the guy with the chain falling backwards there. So, it looks more like he's got tiny little legs and is doing a river dance. Yes. Do you know, that is the only criticism I'll hear against Streets of Rage 2. You can't get Max to river dance. Anyway, right, as you can probably tell, most of the Mega Drive games came in these clamshell things, the vast majority, in fact. It came with this sort of black design with the squares down, a bit like graph paper if it was weirdly inverted. And you open it up and it keeps your games and your manuals very safe, although the manuals still always get chewed up at the corners. That, unfortunately, is just 90s games manuals for you. And the cartridges themselves, as we sort of saw earlier, are these little devices here. Let me not spin it upside down. That's just confusing. Yep, slots in, away you go. And very specific shape at the bottom. As we said earlier, to stop you plugging in the Japanese ones, which look like this. See, squarer at the bottom. That's why we had to have the adapter thing. But there you go. But of course, they weren't all like that. You did have other cases. Later on, they swapped them out for these sort of blue ones with Mega Drive written up the side. A little more obviously, to say the least, which is a shame, because it kind of ruins the picture there, doesn't it? You know, that Mickey Mania thing had looked a lot nicer, I feel, if it didn't have the big blue Mega Drive stuff near it. But there we are, and that became a thing later on. But it was one of those things where you could license the games, but you didn't necessarily have to stick exactly to Sega's design of the boxes there. So, for instance, Electronic Arts releasing the wonderful game Shaq Fu. There he is, looking all Shaq Fu-y. Electronic Arts, you see? Big old yellow thing with their company logo on the side. Looks a bit different. Codemasters kind of went their own way as well, with the excellent Turbo Tournament 96. We'll come on to that later. Little bit of stuff at the side. Also telling you it's a J-Kart. Remember that name, J-Kart. We'll see those in a minute. And most importantly of all... Do you know, I'd never seen one of these until recently. I knew they existed, but yes, the dodgy pirate carts. 10-in-1 King's Card. Push reset key to select game. Reset. Look how distorted that is. They did not give a single solitary toss, did they? They really didn't. Yep, this is quite literally a pirate cartridge from back in the day that you would buy off a market somewhere, I suppose, and play Veritex and Magic Prince and all your favourites. And here, oh God, on this, yes, not an official case. It's kind of weirdly warped, but yep, there we are. A Japanese, very heavy cartridge, probably because it's got more storage on than most. And yeah, you put it in your Mega Drive, and to be perfectly honest, I've never dared run it, because if you think, that looks like it might damage your console, potentially could. Unlikely, but possible. Do you know, I will try it one day on somebody else's Mega Drive when they're not looking. That's about it, really. Oh, wait. No, it isn't. Because there are also different looking cartridges. Codemasters released games in this very, very different style. Oop, take the right one. It's taller. It's tapered. That sounded like the start of Tiny Toon Adventures, but it wasn't. And basically just looks different. Psycho Pinball. Pretty good game, Psycho Pinball, incidentally. Also released on IBM PC, so we won't be covering it later, but it is quite a good one. And you don't hear people mention it very often. Now, the interesting thing is, there is a reason for the design of these. For look, it's one of Codemasters' more popular games, Micro Machines 2 Turbo Tournament. But this, my friends, is just a standard cart. Remember we mentioned J-carts earlier? This is a J-cart version. That's right, built-in multi-tap for Control 3 and 4. How nifty is that? So you could buy the game, not have a multi-tap, but still plug controllers straight into it, and away you go with 3 and 4 player, which is immense fun on Micro Machines. Micro Machines is amazing in 2 player. 3 and 4 player, even better. Also, they released Pete Sampras Tennis with 4 players, which amazes me, because I always think of tennis as being a 2-player game. It must be for doubles or something. But anyway, that exists. But yeah, the Mega Drive was a hell of a bastion of good games. I mean, you know how you can like put together top 15 Mega Drive games or something? Really, to do the system justice, you'd be looking at more of a top 50 for Mega Drive. Just so much good stuff. I mean, there's Streets of Rage 2, which we haven't mentioned for some reason. And then, of course, you get into the Sonic games. Sonic the Hedgehog's kind of brilliant. Sonic the Hedgehog 2, even better. In fact, all the Sonic games Mega Drive, pretty good from what I remember, actually. Comic Zone is fun. Sort of a weird comic-y take on scrolling beat-em-up. Shining Force 1 and 2. Absolutely love those strategy games, or tactics games as they call them these days. Shinobi 3 is great. Trying to think what else. Toe Jam and Earl's really good. Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, which is just Puyo Puyo, but Puyo Puyo is great. Castlevania New Generation's pretty nifty. Look, there are so many good games to the Mega Drive. It is bloody unbelievable. It is a great system for gaming. It did suffer slightly from having various Amiga conversions, often of games that weren't that great. So there was Battle Squadron. Battle Squadron's pretty good, actually, thinking about it. Then you get into Shadow of the Beast, which was kind of a technical exercise on the Amiga and seems weirdly pointless on other systems. Trying to think. Oh, Sword of Sodan, of course. If you've never seen Sword of Sodan, look that up later on YouTube. It's a game I love, but not because it's a good game. And then you get absolute poo, like bloody Strider 2. Not the good official one that came out on PlayStation. There was like a home version only Strider 2 sequel to Strider in the arcade. Oh, it's just awful. It's awful. 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 And that bloody James Pond 2 RoboCod. Oh, really dismal platform game that for some reason got really high marks in like all of the Amiga and Atari ST magazines back in the day, and it's ended up on every bloody platform in the world. It keeps resurfacing. Turned up on bloody Game Boy Advance. It's not any fun, people. Oh dear. Reminds me of Alfred Chicken, another game which isn't great but appeared on every platform in the universe, although interestingly not the Mega Drive. So that's another point in the Mega Drive's favour. Anyway, let's move on to Mega CD, which came in dual cases, double dual cases over here at least. Look, it's Night Trap, the thing that... Oh, God, there's a massive censorship furore over this in America, which is why this has got the 15 sticker on here, I presume, actually. Like, the whole rating system in America was brought in after congressional hearings about Night Trap or something. If you don't know this game, it's just a bad FMV game. Which is very sort of camp and silly. But I think at one point a lady might appear in a bra or something, so therefore it was the ruin of society. And it's got space vampires or something. But yeah, Mega CD games came on CDs, as you would probably guess. My God, that's mint. Well, yeah, it's Night Trap. Nobody actually wants to play it, do they? There was some sort of modern reimagining of this recently, wasn't it? Or rejiggering of the footage to make it look less poo, because FMV on the Mega CD. It is such a shame that there are so many FMV games on the Mega CD, but it is really bad FMV for these. Let me give you an example of this, right? So this is Microcosm. Not a great game. It looks like this on the Mega CD, but I was used to seeing it on the Amiga CD32, which looks like this. Yeah. So you can see why we weren't massively impressed when we first saw Mega CD stuff, because it was all based around FMV that looks bloody dreadful. And I never quite understood why they did this, right? When you buy a Mega CD, you got with it Sega Classics Arcade Collection, and also there was something else packed in it. I think it was like a double pack of Soul Face and Cobra Command? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's right. Anyway, this is a nice little set. Look, Golden Axe, Super Monaco GP, Streets of Rage, Revenge of Shinobi, Columns. And you know what? They're just the Mega Drive games with some audio improvements on a CD. But the thing is, when you're selling your new console as a new powerhouse, you kind of want it to demonstrate why it's worth buying for like £270 or whatever it was at the point of release. And just bundling it with a load of games that the existing Mega Drive will play quite happily on its own seemed a bit of shooting yourself in the foot to me. I mean, it was very nice if you didn't have these games and you were buying a Mega CD anyway, because you're like, oh my God, Revenge of Shinobi's good, Streets of Rage is good, Super Monaco GP's okay, Golden Axe is pretty good, Columns is, yes, right, yeah, it's a nice set. But it's not what you want to show off your new machine, is it? Or indeed convince people to buy it. I don't know. But there are indeed good games for the Mega CD as well. Sonic CD is pretty amazing. Snatcher is the only way you can play Snatcher in English, officially released in the UK at least, was the Mega CD version. Shining Force CD is good as well. There's a really good CD entry in that series. It's a shame, though, we never got the Luna games over here. There were two sort of RPGs in the Luna series, which were really nifty. Never released here, which is a bloody shame. And finally, let's look at a 32X game. Cardboard boxes? Yes, that's why it's all scuffed. But this was how you played Virtua Fighter before you had a Sega Saturn, unless you played the weird 2D version that just came out for the Mega Drive. So they're interesting boxes, these. They sort of slide out, and then you've got your cartridge in there, and then you have to kind of open it up at the top in order to access your user manual. Oh, there we are. Johnny Five has now read all that. Yeah, and Mega Drive 32X. I'd forgotten it was called the Mega Drive 32X. I always just think of it as the 32X. Where's a good example? Yep, different shapes again, more tapered. And if you look at the bottom, Very similar shape, but slightly larger, so it won't go into your original Mega Drive. But yeah, pretty good stuff from cartridge points of view. I always liked the design of the Mega Drive cartridges. 32X certainly upholds that. They only released about 38 games for the 32X over here. Good ones, a bit few and far between, to be perfectly honest. Knuckles Chaotix, pretty good. Stellar Assault's pretty interesting, kind of like Star Wars Arcade, but with more to do. Basically a sort of space combat game with filled polygons that move nice and smoothly in that. It's called Shadow Squadron in the US. There's a good conversion of Mortal Kombat 2. Yeah, Virtual Fire's pretty good. There's a nice version of Virtual Racing. Yeah, I kind of want to mention Blackthorn, but that wasn't released in the UK, so we won't be doing that. Yeah, it was a bit of a disappointment on the game front, the old 32X. Anyway, time now to jump in and show you 10 games of interest which can only be played on the original hardware, I believe. It's a difficult one, this, because of the ease of emulating Mega Drive games means they've turned up in all sorts of things. There's all big Mega Drive collections like the Xbox 360 and on Steam for PC and all that kind of stuff, which is why there's no Sonic games on here, because they've all been re-released right up the wazoo, as you could probably guess. So again, don't expect to see all your favourite games in here. Expect to see weird games, and maybe ones you haven't heard of that often. I'm going to do 7 Mega Drive games, 2 Mega CD games, and a 32X game. And these are all captured from original hardware. So, we'll start off with a game I mentioned earlier, Micro Machines Turbo Tournament 96, which is kind of an upgraded version of Micro Machines 2 Turbo Tournament. Basically, it has some remixed levels, and levels taken from some of the other games, which is nice, but mainly it has a construction kit, which is why it's my favourite of the Micro Machines games. If you have never played a Micro Machines game, well, I mean, it looks and sounds like this, obviously, but it's immense fun two-player racing game, or more if you've got a J-Kart, where you have tiny little toy cars that are racing around, I don't know, kitchen tables and science labs and all that kind of stuff. And I'm going to cheat here slightly by also including Micro Machines Military, which is also very good and has more sort of military-themed vehicles. I mean, Micro Machines Military is, I believe, the only Micro Machines game where you can fly spaceships around and shoot lasers at each other whilst racing. You can't argue with that. Next up, one for the anime fans, or indeed just people who like video games in general, it's Mazen Saga Mutant Fighter. So you star as the suit of armour spiky boy here, who goes along in a bit of a scrolling beat-em-up thing, quite a simple one, and attacks people who are evil, and they're weird mutants and robots and things. And it has this interesting thing where you're playing it along and then suddenly a giant monster tries to step on you. Like a giant, weird robot skeleton. That's not good. And then at the end of the level, oh my goodness, it attacks you directly. And then after you complete that bit, you grow giant too and take on the giant robot one-on-one in a different game style, a more sort of direct fighting game kind of thing. It's a very interesting game, this one, and it's really good fun to play. I wouldn't have said it's like one of the best games on the Mega Drive by a long chalk, but I hadn't heard of it before, and I had a lot of fun with it. I mean, you've got giant robots hitting each other with swords. What more do you bloody want? Ah, Shadowrun. Blimey. So, I have a weird sort of history with this game. I still don't know if I like it or not, and I must have played it like 4 different times over the years. I've never quite got my head around it. It's very strange. I feel like it's not very good and I don't like it, but I keep coming back to it, so there must be something in it. So it's based in the Shadowrun universe, which is one of my favourites of the RPG universes, and you sort of wander around from an overhead view and take on missions and go on runs, or shadow runs indeed, and shoot people and do RPG stuff and all the sort of things you would expect from a Shadowrun game, really. Should point out, there is also a Shadowrun game for the Super Nintendo, but it is completely different to this. Yeah, I mean, this can't hold a candle to, like, I mean, what was one of the recent ones released on PC? Shadowrun Dragonfall, for instance, which I think is genuinely one of the best video games ever made. And yeah, don't expect that kind of experience. But, I don't know, I think you should play Shadowrun and see what you make of it, because after all these years, I still don't really know what I make of it. Ranger X. Yes, the Mystery Ranger. So another one with a very distinct Japanese style to it, shall we say, and robots again. And you can sort of run around and shoot things and you fly a bit, and you've also got a weird bike thing. And I'd never played this game before, and I tell you what, quite enjoyed it. It's a bit different. It's very fast, it's very good looking, really nice graphics and sound on this one. And you put that together with the decent controls and you're having yourself quite a good time, really. A lot of variety in the game as well. But let's face it, if you're controlling a really cool looking robot that's riding an equally cool looking motorcycle, you're gonna have a good time. Ex-Mutants. So this is absolutely nothing to do with the X-Men. It is based on a comic book, but it's one from Malibu Comics, I think. Wasn't there some weird legal thing about the ownership of it? I don't know. But what I can tell you is, I had never heard of this game, and somebody mentioned it to me as an example of a really terrible Mega Drive game. It's not that bad at all. I mean, it's a fairly simple platform game. You basically play as a guy who has a really big axe or lady who's got some nunchucker, and you go around and you hit things and do platform game stuff. It's not amazing by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't think it was that bad. I mean, in the scheme of things. First, there was specific order, but now there's just general chaos. Yes, as you can see with your eyes, General Chaos is a sort of small squad-based military tactics game, strategy game. It's a really hard one to define. Basically, you collect your squad of men there, all the different weapons and skills and stuff, and get them to run about the screen and pick stuff up whilst also shooting the opposing team until all the opposing team are dead or you've been killed. It's simple from that point of view, and it's one of those things where you kind of play it and you think, there's not much of a game to it really. You just sort of run, click somewhere for them to move, click somewhere else for them to shoot, and then it sort of ends. And yet, I keep coming back to this game every so often. I fancy a game of General Chaos. Because, as I said, there's nothing else quite like it. Really interesting game, this one. Even if it doesn't look like your sort of thing, I strongly recommend you check it out if you've got the chance. Skitchin'! Hey everyone, are you skitchin'? I'm going to be skitchin' tomorrow. So skitchin' is apparently skate hitching or something. So the idea of this game is, as you can see, you control a rollerblader who is racing against other rollerbladers. Nice and easy. Except you can hang on to the back of cars and get obviously a massive speed boost. And also, quite realistically, it's incredibly dangerous to hang onto the back of cars. And you have really meaty, unpleasant smashes and crashes where your little guy goes flying over the screen. This game is great fun. I don't remember hearing about this back in the day, and I'm so pleased I've discovered it. Basically, a friend put me onto this. It is one of his favourite games, and I can kind of see why. It's got that sort of road rash vibe, right down to the fact that you can actually attack and have fights with the other rollerbladers, and it's just really good fun. Just looking in your weird rear view mirror, I don't know how these skaters have rear view mirrors, let's not question that, in order to nip across at just the right time to grab the back of a car and shoot ahead of the opposition, whilst preferably not getting your knees run over. It's really good fun. You're very impressed with this game. Now, on to the Mega CD and Snatcher. Yes, Hideo Kojima's game, which is kind of Blade Runner meets Terminator. In fact, it's pretty much specifically Blade Runner meets Terminator, to be perfectly honest. The Snatchers of the title are like evil robots that basically replace people. And you go along, as is your job, and kill them all, because for some reason you've lost your memory, so when you lose your memory they give you a job hunting down robots? I don't know. It's all a bit Kojima. But I'll tell you what, really good fun, this one. The dialogue always makes me smile in this every time I see it. And as I said earlier, this is the only official English language release of Snatcher there is in the UK, full stop. So unless you've got some patched version of another one, this is the version you will be playing. And this game is very highly thought of, and for good reason. To be perfectly honest, it's just a really good laugh to play. Is it better than Policenauts, Kojima's other game that people mention the same breath? Well, that is not for me to say, because I haven't played Policenauts. But if you've played them both, put what you think down in the comments, and nobody will read it or care, because that's YouTube for you. Eternal Champions, Challenge from the Dark Side. So, Eternal Champions was kind of the homegrown fighting game, or at least the decent homegrown fighting game for the Mega Drive. And it's alright. Character designs are interesting, controls are sort of okay. Everything moves alright. It just doesn't feel as good as Street Fighter 2 or something like that, but it's an interesting enough game to play. But I'm much more of a fan of the Challenge from the Dark Side edition, which is the Mega CD one. Basically, They upgraded the graphics, which is always nice. You've got nicer backgrounds and stuff. You've unfortunately got some FMV sequences, but we'll just turn the other way when those happen. And more importantly, they've stuffed the game full of absolutely weird stuff, like really, really weird and bizarre bits. There's so many bloody hidden characters in this you wouldn't believe. Joke characters, full characters, characters from the first game that they actually couldn't fit on the cartridge at the time, so they didn't bother fully developing, but they have now, and all sorts of stuff here. And I really kind of appreciate the fact that it was so massively expanded. And for me, it turns it into a much more fun game because there's so much going on with it. There's loads of stuff to get into in this, and as with most fighting games that are at least half decent, you're going to have a good time playing it against a friend. Now, as far as 32X exclusives go, the most interesting is probably Colibri here. It's a hard one to explain. A kind of what if Echo the Dolphin was a hummingbird? But it doesn't really play entirely like Echo the Dolphin. Basically, it's a very, very pretty and weird shooter where you are a hummingbird who gets magic powers from a crystal for reasons and goes around shooting lots of insects. And it has a very distinct visual style, really nice use of colour in this game. This is properly a beautiful game. Although the game itself is just kind of a slightly annoying shoot-em-up. One of those ones where you spend all your time trying not to get the wrong power-up because it constantly throws power-ups at you and half of them aren't any good. You know, that kind of game? One of those games I fire up every so often because I kind of want to experience it more than I want to play it, if you know what I mean. But I think it's fair to say this is an odd one. Okay, I'm cheating a bit and adding another 32X game because I realised we hadn't looked at anything truly bad. And so here is, wait for it, Cosmic Carnage. This is really dismal. The idea is you've got kind of a space-themed robots and aliens fight each other fighting game. Except it's just no fun whatsoever. Very limited moves, and nothing quite moves properly. It's very hard to describe. You've got sort of slightly sluggish controls, but also all the characters move so strangely. It's just very difficult to actually get any fun out of this game. Also, there's a really ill-advised thing where they zoom in slightly on the graphics, and they all look absolutely dreadful and become pixelated and awful. Very bad idea, that. Yeah, this game is a big, stinky pile of poo. In fact, an official from Sega back in the day said, Cosmic Carnage showed up, we didn't even want to ship it. It took a lot of convincing. Yep, that's how desperate they were for games for 32X. They put this out. I mean, dearie me, real weak sauce. Not even close to being one of the worst fighting games of the period, don't get me wrong, there were some absolutely monstrous stinkers, but it is still just no fun to play. So there you go, that was 10 Sega games of the time that weren't released for any other system, I think. It's hard to say 100% on these, but I'm fairly confident. Do you know what I nearly showed? Star Wars Arcade, and I totally remembered. It's an arcade game as well, isn't it? It's a conversion. The clue is in the title. Dearie me. Bit of a disappointment, this one, to be honest, because there's not that much game to it, and it was quite expensive. Also, which wouldn't have helped me capture footage from it, this is one of the knackered 32X games I've got that doesn't even work. It like starts up for about 2 seconds, then just stops. Oh, dearie me. Oh, look what I didn't mention earlier. Weird clamshell case for Buddha Khan, which is like a fighting tournament game by Ray Toby. And it's even a more interesting design of cartridge. I'd forgotten about the ones with the little bit of yellow plastic in. Did that imply that you could save game to the cartridge and had a battery? I can't remember. Well, the important thing is these weird plastic sort of soft cases really look tatty after about 5 minutes, and this one's like 25, 30 years old or something, so yeah, let's put that there. There you go, Grandad. You be careful. So then, that was the Mega Drive that was, or at the very least, scratching the surface of it. Absolutely fantastic system with increasingly disappointing add-ons is probably a way to describe it. So if you just ignore the add-ons, or maybe just go for the Mega CD and the Mega Drive, you're going to have a very good time. But Stuart, you yell at me from overhead as you pass by in your flying submarine. What's the best way to play a Mega Drive on a modern television? Well, I did buy one of those devices. you know, the old HDMI direct adapter that I've been getting hold of recently. And this one's kind of all right. Yeah, it's a cheap, decent option, I suppose. It wasn't as good as the PlayStation one, I didn't think, mainly due to stretching the picture slightly for some reason. But it's all right. It's fine. It does the job, and it also comes with the necessary adapters, so you can use it for Mega Drive 1 and Mega Drive 2, which is important. So good points there. It's certainly a million times better than that Nintendo 64 one we looked at a couple of weeks ago. But if you just want something quick and easy to plug into your television and play some Mega Drive games on, then we can immediately jump cut to the Mega Drive Mini, the ultimate computer game console, includes Sonic the Hedgehog. Includes 2 control pads. Look, 2 of the 3-button pads. So this is one of those mini consoles they've released recently, obviously. And I tell you what, pretty good one. Decent emulation, lag isn't crazy yet. I do like this one. Plus it outputs digital stereo sound, which is a pain in the arse to get out of a Mega Drive 1. So there we are. And absolutely loads of games. 40 classic games. You've got the good stuff. You've got your Road Rash 2. You've got your Shining Force. You've got a version of Eternal Champions. You've got Shinobi 3. You've got Streets of Rage 2. I mean, yeah, we know what's going on. It's all good. All good indeed. And it's a really easy option if you just want something quick and simple to plug into your television. And if you want even more games, they then did a Mega Drive 2. In a tiny box. This only comes with 1 controller, but it is a 6-button one to expand on things a bit. And, yeah, loads of games again. You've got 12 classic titles, 41 classic titles. That's confusing. 41 classic Mega Drive titles, and, wait for it, 12 classic Mega CD titles, including a decent version of Final Fight CD they had. I mean, are you really going to be playing the Mega Drive version of Final Fight these days when you could emulate it for the arcade? I don't know, but this has got Echo the Dolphin, and that's nice. You can even play Night Trap on it. Look at that. And it's got Shining Force CD and Sonic the Hedgehog CD. I mean, that's pretty amazing, isn't it? Various games and bits and bobs for your original Mega Drive. Pretty good stuff. And interestingly, 7 bonus original titles which weren't released over here back in the day. So that's nice as well. So yeah, get both of those, and I tell you what, you've got an awful lot of Mega Drive stuff that you can just plug straight into your telly and you're away, and it's all nice and easy. Right, that's your lot. Play us out, Sword of Sodan.
Subscribe for more.